All right, so we're about to dive into this story of betrayal, a massive billion-dollar secret, and a twist of fate so wild it could give you whiplash. This is one of those stories where getting disowned, well, that wasn't the end. Turns out, it was just the beginning.
Can you just imagine? You're standing in front of your parents, you've got a sonogram in your hand, and those are the words you hear. Ava's father, he didn't even blink, and her mother just stood there by the window, totally silent. The crime they accused her of? Bringing shame on the family by being pregnant and unmarried. And just like that, it was over. Her dad literally threw her suitcase out onto the street. The sound of it hitting the pavement was somehow louder than all his yelling. And as Ava walked away, she was holding on to this huge secret they never even bothered to ask about: who the father of her baby was. So the next day, she's absolutely at rock bottom, crashing on a friend's couch when her phone starts buzzing. It's a blocked number. She ignores it, but it keeps calling, again and again and again. And then, finally, a voicemail pops up. So she hits play, and this calm, really protective voice tells her he heard what happened and that he's taking care of it. He promises her she's not alone. I mean, it's a total lifeline, but it also just makes everything way more mysterious. Right? That is the $1,000,000, or, in this case, the $1,000,000,000 question. Who is this person stepping up to the plate when her own family has just completely thrown her away? The father is Noah Ashford, the CEO of Ashford Aerospace, the guy the media calls the $9 billion phantom. And the irony here is just unbelievable. Her parents had actually met him once before when he was dressed down in a hoodie, and they totally wrote him off as some loser. They had absolutely no idea. Okay, so fast forward 1 week. The stage is set for a showdown of epic proportions. Ava's watching from across the street as this whole motorcade of black SUVs pulls up to her parents' house, and Noah Ashford himself steps out. Her dad comes out onto the porch, and the second he sees Noah, his face just drops. He sees the expensive suit, the security team, the watch, and you can just see the gears turning. He looks over at Ava, then back at Noah, and his voice actually cracks when he asks the question. And Noah, cool as a cucumber, just drops that simple, powerful fact. You can just imagine the dead silence on that front lawn. The entire world just stopped. And this is when Ava walks forward. She confronts them, just lays out the brutal truth. Their sudden change of heart? It's not about love. It's not about concern. It's about power. It's about who Noah is. She was basically dead to them until they realized her so-called shame came with a $1 billion price tag. But wait, it gets worse. Noah hands her father a manila folder, and inside is proof of an even deeper, nastier betrayal. For years, her parents had been secretly siphoning money out of her trust fund to pay for their own stuff. So Noah hands him a check, but it's just a fraction of what they actually stole. Her father practically stumbles back when he realizes it won't even cover the mortgage on their lake house. And Ava says that for the first time in her life, she felt totally and completely free from needing their approval. So this moment, it's a real shift. It's not just about getting even anymore. It's about healing, and it's about building a future that's completely free from all that bitterness and pain from the past. So once the story hits the news, her phone just blows up with voicemails, each one more desperate than the last. "We made a mistake. We didn't know he was that Noah Ashford." I mean, it's so obvious their apologies were never about her. They were about saving their own skin. And this just shows you the total transformation. I mean, she went from begging for a love that had all these strings attached to finding her own strength. From crying on a friend's couch to building a whole shelter for other women who need help. She didn't just survive this, she rebuilt her entire world from the ground up. Right in the middle of all this chaos, Ava gets a call from her grandmother, Margaret. And she's calling to apologize for staying quiet, but she also reveals this massive family secret that suddenly makes her parents' behavior make a whole lot more sense. Her grandmother confesses that her own marriage was basically a business deal. Ava's father was forced into it for financial reasons. Their whole lives were built on obligation, not love. And she tells Ava that by choosing her child over their approval, she finally broke that toxic generational cycle of fear. And speaking of breaking cycles, Noah reveals a project of his own. He hands Ava a folder, and inside are the blueprints for the Ava Center, a shelter for single and expecting mothers. He used all his resources to turn her darkest moment into a place of hope and support for so many others. But there was one last piece of business to take care of, one final door to close. Her father makes one last desperate attempt to get back in her life, showing up at her new home totally unannounced. He brings this box of old mementos, trying to appeal to the little girl who just wanted her dad's approval. But she meets him with this quiet, steady calm. She tells him she's not that girl anymore, and that while she won't ever try to hurt him, she won't be opening that door again. It's a quiet, powerful, and totally final goodbye. And soon after that, her daughter Hazel is born. And unlike Ava's childhood, Hazel's world isn't defined by shame or what she owes people. It's defined by purpose, by strength, and by a whole lot of unconditional love. And really, that's the lesson at the very heart of all this. Looking back, Ava realized that walking away from the family that broke her was the very thing that let her build the life and the legacy that ended up saving her. So it kind of leaves us with this big question, right? Is family the people you're born to, whose love might come with a bunch of conditions? Or is it the people you choose, the community you build, based on real, unconditional support? What really truly defines a family?